but we have a couple of guests. You can't see them behind the camera. Friends of mine, Danny Gonzalez, who has served within Guantanamo Bay, cops from Perth Amboy and Woodbridge here in New Jersey. So the studio just got a lot more secure.
Guys, thanks for your service.
Guys, thank you for your service. You see all of them. Like they hit the gym every day. I feel very safe having you all here.
Indeed.
God bless you. Thanks for what you do.
Got a studio audience. Meanwhile, let's talk a little bit about our big story. Yesterday, 11:20 Pacific time, this went down at the San Ysidro port out in California, which is just to the north of Tijuana. As you can see right there, migrants were clashing with Mexican police in riot gear. They rushed a concrete canal near the San Ysidro pedestrian bridge. A group of about 50 people ran past the police and broke through a hole in the border fence. Some people in the group threw rocks at agents on the other side, and a number of agents were apparently hit by rocks, and that's when the authorities deployed pepper balls and tear gas in an attempt to get people to disperse and turn around.
Oh my gosh, it was so chaotic there. They had to close down. They had to suspend the north and southbound crossings there at the San Ysidro port of entry because it was so chaotic. They had to tell the pedestrians, you can't go through here. They had to tell the drivers in their cars, you got to stop here. You can't come through.
Because Griff had reported earlier in the morning that they were going to try to bum rush the border through that port of entry.
Right.
When they closed that port of entry, then they tried another means. Listen, when you throw rocks and bottles at Border Patrol agents, you're going to get tear gas in your face, as you should. Our borders matter. They have a job to do. They want to go home to their families. This signals that President Trump takes this seriously. Only a few squeezed through, and they were arrested, so we're told, and we'll get more information from a Border Patrol agent we're going to have on in a moment. But Mexico is also feeling the heat, because I thought it was important to see that they're pledging to identify who some of these folks are, try to find them, and deport them for this type of activity, because they didn't just rush through toward our border. There were Mexican police officers there, too, who they pushed through to get to the border.
Well, Mexico says they do intend to deport 500 migrants. The president was tweeting about this. He said Mexico should move the flag-waving migrants, many of whom are stone-cold criminals, back to their countries. Do it by plane, do it by bus, do it any way you want, but they are not coming into the United States. We will close the border permanently if need be. Congress, fund the wall.
And keep in mind, it was a number of weeks ago when a number of the migrants were able to overwhelm the guards at Mexico's southern border. And for the most part, they have just marched up north toward Tijuana for the last couple of weeks. It looked as if there was a deal in the offing with the new president of Mexico where he would say, okay, you want to apply for asylum in the United States? Stay here in Mexico. But then we learned late yesterday, apparently there is no deal. But that would really be very handy, because so often people come into this country to seek asylum, and then they are released in the general population, and sometimes they do not return.
That would be handy, but the residents don't want to. If you talk to the residents in Tijuana, many of our reporters have gone down there and talked to them. They don't want these thousands of migrants hanging out in their town while they wait for asylum.
They want their sovereignty, too. They already have enough problems on their side. And every border crossing that's occurred before they got here, they said it was going to be peaceful. And then, Steve, when they didn't get their way, it became violent. So they're like, hey, we're peaceful as long as you can let us walk across your border, as if the border doesn't exist. The minute you stop us, well, then the young men start throwing rocks and bottles.
Well, you know what this is? Okay. According to Dan Bongino, this is an invasion.
The Democrats have shown no substantive policy proposals to stop this chaos on the border at all. Donald Trump right now seems to be the only prominent Republican out there really speaking out forcefully on this issue. Listen, guys, we were told a couple things, right? That there was no caravan by the liberal media and the Democrats. That's clearly not true. And we were told, secondly, this was not an invasion, which as of yesterday, granted, I don't mean to be hyperbolic about it, but clearly what happened yesterday were people trying to invade our border.
You know, I think what makes this issue so divisive or polarizing is that you have President Trump saying, or you have the left saying, what about the plight of the migrant, of the illegal immigrant, who may be wanting to come here for a job or to reunite with a family? Maybe they're not a part of MS-13. They're not trafficking kids or drugs. They just want to get here. And you sort of understand where they're coming from. Then you have the other side of President Trump saying, wait a minute. What about the lawful American citizen, the forgotten men and women who live in the communities that have been infected by those gangs and those drugs, whose streets are more difficult to police now than they were before? Why aren't we thinking about them when we look at the border?
Right, and this, for the most part, is the most publicized image this morning, and it shows border chaos, a woman and her two children trying to get across the border. There are a number of others in the background, but
Bunch of dudes behind him, just to
Well,
nonetheless, it's heartbreaking to see that. I mean, the kids don't have any shoes on, and there's tear gas all over the place.
And the kids are in diapers, and the mom has an Elsa and Anna t-shirt, which every mother in America can relate to if you have a little one who loves Frozen. Yeah, that's heartbreaking to see. But then you also talk to these angel moms. You talk to the couple that we just talked to in the last hour, the Fergusons. They lost their daughter Amanda on Thanksgiving Day. They say this past Thanksgiving, they say that the guy who hit her, she was walking on a crosswalk, and the dad says the guy just plowed right through the red light or through the light, hit her, didn't even brake, and she is a 6th grade school teacher. They've had to send in counselors to talk to her kids. She's 28 years old. She had her whole life ahead of her.
Yeah, the man who killed her was out on bond from an assault charge and apparently, reportedly, in the country illegally. Her parents joined Ainsley just about a half an hour ago. And here's his message to Congress.
The system is broken. It needs to somehow be fixed. You know, if an illegal alien is here in the United States and they're caught on a crime, they need to be held in jail or detained until their trial. At the trial, if they're found innocent, they need to be deported at that time. At the trial, if they're found guilty, they need to serve their time in prison, and then at the end of their sentence, they need to be deported, not allowed to be released back into our society and to kill our children.
And this is them in front of their house. A lot of common sense there. His wife, Cynthia, went on. He also had more comments to talk about their daughter lost on Thanksgiving, as well as their message to the president. Listen.
She lived at the spectrum of everything was, you know, just bubbly and happy. And through this, I've just seen how many people just truly loved her and adored her.
When they won't even allow me to see my own daughter because her body is so broken and so destroyed because of this guy who illegally is here and who illegally was arrested and released, you know, something has to change. Mr. Trump, father to father, stay vigilant and please help correct the loopholes that allow these guys to come back into our society and destroy our family.
We had Newt Gingrich on about a half an hour ago, shortly after Ainsley did that interview with him, and he said he wondered how many members of the, I think he referred to it as the mainstream media elite, are going to be talking about that story in addition to the story about what happened yesterday at the port in San Ysidro. Yeah.
Because
probably not many.
It's a great point, because loopholes have real-life consequences. I mean, one person's esoteric loophole, as we talk about it in the media, is a reality where someone is here illegally committing crimes, not being sent back home, being allowed to come through a porous border. We don't know who they are or where they're coming from. You hear that father, and it resonates. It's common sense hitting your ears if you believe your country should have borders. And I think the 2020 election is going to be about voices like that versus unfettered immigration voices on the other side. And it's going to be a stark choice.
Yeah, when you hear some of these Democratic lawmakers talk about, oh, the president's just using these stories as fear-mongering, and then you actually hear these stories and you think about how it could affect your family. You know, what if that were you and Thanksgiving Day? You think about the first time you hold your child and you have all these hopes and dreams for them. She was 28 years old. She was a baby once in her mom's arms. Her mom said that was her very best friend. She had hopes and dreams for her daughter. Her daughter's making a difference in the lives of all these 6th graders. And now everyone's life that she touched is changed forever. And it could have been prevented. And that's their message.
Her name is Amanda, and vigilance is what is required to keep women and men like her safe in this country. So we'll see where this goes.
Our heart breaks for their family.
Indeed. It's
awful.
A tough story.
Thanksgiving Day.
All right, Jillian joins us right now, and she has some other news.
That's right. Good morning. Let's start with this. An American soldier killed in combat, just identified as Sergeant Leandro Jasso. The Army Ranger lost his life in a shootout with al-Qaeda terrorists in Afghanistan on Saturday. The Washington State native was on his 3rd deployment since enlisting in 2012. Officials describe Jasso as a humble professional who will be deeply missed. He's the 2nd American troop killed in Afghanistan this month. British Prime Minister Theresa May starts her Brexit sales pitch to Parliament today. She's updating them on the terms of the deal just reached with the European Union. The deal goes to a vote in the British House of Commons in 2 weeks. If it passes, the UK will leave the EU on March 29th. But if it's voted down, the government could try to extend their deadline. And now, winter weather causing chaos for millions of travelers trying to get home from their Thanksgiving holiday. Look at that. Snow blanketing major roads in the Midwest, causing whiteout conditions from Kansas City to Chicago. More than 1,000 flights canceled on Sunday, and hundreds more are already grounded today. That system now moving east into Indiana and Michigan. And a mother thanking this Good Samaritan for saving her choking baby at a Golden Corral in North Carolina. Deborah Rouse, a mother of 5, rushing from her table to perform the Heimlich maneuver on 7-month-old Kelly Jarvis.
She started breathing again. I didn't get her phone number or anything, but I knew her name, and I wanted people to know that she's a hero.
Oh, the baby's mom, Hannah, sharing her appreciation on Facebook, writing, quote, "Christ was with us today." Isn't that incredible?
That's awesome.
Wow.
Such a good deed, good person.
Indeed.
Scary situation.
Yeah.
You got to know what you're doing. That's right.
And she
Thank you.
did. All right.
We're seeing all these images. What's the truth? Because you're down there and you talk to your border agents and you know what's happening.
Well, we have quite a few members of the caravan that have already arrived to the border in California, approximately 6,000 in the Tijuana area and another 2,000 in the Mexicali area, and there are more on their way.
All right, and we know that apparently yesterday about 11:30, they clashed with the police. They rushed that canal. A group of 50 ran past the police and broke through a small hole in the border fence. You know, you would think that since that's the busiest place in the world regarding, you know, people in and out of the United States port-wise, you would think that there wouldn't be a hole in that border wall.
That's a great point. That's some of the area that we put our first fencing up back approximately 25 years ago. And quite a bit of that is what we call landing mat fencing from the Vietnam era. And it is certainly out of date and does not meet our requirement for what we need with a wall.
So is there a plan to reinforce that, considering you've got thousands of migrants coming to that location?
Well, we have been reinforcing it, of course, with agents and officers within CBP, as well as, you know, our partners from the Department of Defense. We are doing some temporary reinforcement in the area, but that is an area that we also need the fence to be replaced with a wall.
Mm-hmm.
Carla, tell us why you made the decision to fire off that tear gas.
Our agents were being assaulted. A large group rushed the area, and they were throwing rocks and bottles at my men and women, putting them in harm's way, as well as other members of the caravan. We needed to disperse the group, and with that assaultive nature, it was imperative that we disperse them from the area.
So it wasn't because they seemed to be running toward the United States. It was because they were hitting your border patrol with rocks and bottles?
Yes, sir, they were.
Chief, do you anticipate this is the beginning? Is this the middle? Was this the largest portion of the caravan? I mean, how do you see this playing out in the days going forward?
Well, as I said earlier, we have approximately 6,000 in the area and caravan members in the area, and there are more on their way. An approximate number of around 1,000 were involved in yesterday's event.
So 1,000 yesterday, 5,000. Do you anticipate groups of this size or larger in the days to come?
Well, we certainly don't want to see this happen again. We want these individuals to remain peaceful and to present themselves at the port of entry for inspection. But I will tell you that we are prepared.
And is Mexico helping us?
Yes, we work with our partners in Mexico continuously. We have a shared border and, of course, a shared concern for the safety and the security of both communities in Tijuana and in the San Diego area. So we work very closely with our partners. We have been. We will continue to do so.
Briefly, do you believe they will deport the 500 who or a number that were responsible for attempting to do this yesterday?
I can't answer that for the government of Mexico, but I can tell you that they have been working hand in hand very closely with us.
Okay.
Chief, thank you so much for what you're doing.
Thank you for your service, Chief. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Due in court today after allegedly hitting a man in the face. He's charged with assault after getting into an argument over parking near his home in New York City. Baldwin claims reports he punched someone over the spot are false, although he does have a history of said things. And lawyers for WikiLeaks founder Julian Assange blocked from seeing him. WikiLeaks says his attorneys were turned away from the Ecuadorian embassy in London, where Assange has been living for 6 years. Lawyers say they need to discuss his U.S. court hearing on Tuesday, WikiLeaks claims the hearing is to remove the secrecy order. Steve Ainsley, down to you guys.
Thank you, Pete. Well, it seems some Democrats nowadays are all about free stuff.
Bernie Sanders and Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez hype things like free tuition and free health care. But now Senators Cory Booker and Kamala Harris are taking it one step further, pushing free money with plans for universal basic income. But wouldn't a guaranteed payday essentially kill work ethic?
Retired U.S. Marine Corps bomb technician Joey Jones knows a thing or two about work ethic. He turned a traumatic, life-changing disability into a personal mission to help others, and he joins us right now from San Antonio. Joey, good morning to you.
Good morning.
Good morning, guys.
So I wonder how many people are listening to that and they're going, let me get this straight. I don't have to get off the couch. The government's going to send me money every month. Sign me up.
Listen, you know, I did lose my legs in Afghanistan in 2010, so I get a VA pension. I'm 100% disabled according to the government. I'm also eligible for Social Security disability insurance. And let me tell you, as soon as I understood how things worked, I fought for a year to get Social Security to quit sending me a check. I told them, I'm working, I'm doing okay. Well, I had lost my legs. I work more hours a week now than I did in the Marine Corps, and I love it. You know, we're born afraid of our environment and hungry. We have those instinctual desires to go out, find security, shelter, and nourishment. In this country, thankfully, that's not really something that we have to worry about. The majority of us, almost everyone, because even poverty comes with opportunity these days. So we're born with those desires met. So we have to fulfill those instinctual needs by building and earning in a career or a job. It's what we need spiritually to be a happy person, and it's also the spirit of competition that keeps us driving and moving forward. I know this as well as anyone, I promise you. We talk about universal income. You can either have that, which limits you, or you can have universal access to basic education. You can have universal opportunity, unimpinged by your status at birth, and you can have insurance for disability, mental or physical disability in this country. We provide those three things, and that takes to place and does infinitely more than any type of universal income that would only limit us, because as soon as you get on a plan like that, just like people all around the country, then you have to weigh the odds of taking a chance and getting a job. What do you lose for going out and earning minimum wage? We already have a system through government handouts that puts people at a disadvantage because they're afraid to take a step off of them, and now we're talking about expanding that for what? Votes?
Doesn't it rob citizens of a chance to have a great life? I mean, it sounds good on paper. You don't have to work. You can sit on the couch and you still get paid, but it holds them back, doesn't it? It doesn't teach autonomy, to learn to stand on your own 2 feet, and it teaches people to depend on others and not themselves. It's actually robbing them, right?
Absolutely. Listen, I am not one to preach at someone else as to what their meaningful work should be. For some, it's earning a living. For others, it's doing something you're passionate about it or volunteering. But it's something you absolutely need in your life. I've learned this the hard way, and thankfully I'm in a place now where I can help others, and it means a lot to me, and earn a living as well. My dad was a brick and block mason, and my mom was considered disabled at 25 because of thoracic outlet and carpal tunnel, but she found a way to go clean houses for other people because she felt like she needed to be doing something in society. That's what fulfillment is, and that does more for your body and soul than any financial security that isn't actual security. They both need things like Social Security disability now, and you know the true irony and the heartache in it is that my dad can't go get a job at Home Depot because he would lose more by working than staying on disability for the fact that his body's broken down from laying brick and block. We already have a system that through trying to provide some sort of safety net puts people at a disadvantage. So why would we expand that and take the opportunity from people to go out and earn a living, challenge themselves, and meet those challenges?
Well, there certainly are some people who simply do need government assistance, and for one reason or another, they need to be helped. But the big question is this the way to do it? And it sounds like your answer, Joey, is no.
Absolutely.
All right.
Thanks,
Thank you very
Joey.
much for joining us live from, we see the Alamo picture behind him.
San Antonio.
All right. Meanwhile, still ahead on this Monday, another state could be going to pot. The big marijuana vote happening in just a few hours.
And here in the studio, Laura Trump joins us live on the Curvy Couch upstairs.
Hey, good morning.
Come on over. Hey.
How are you? Migrants clashed with the Mexican police in riot gear. Some broke through a small hole. They threw rocks at agents, and pepper gas was sprayed.
Let's bring in Laura Trump, President Trump's daughter-in-law and campaign advisor. Off the campaign trail, are you like, whew, thank goodness midterms are over?
Well, we thought they were over. They're not officially over yet because we do have a vote in Mississippi tomorrow. But yes, we're very happy that all of it is done, and we came out with a great success in the Senate, so it was great.
Laura, when you look at those images of what's going on at the border between California and Tijuana, what do you think?
Well, it's terrifying. I mean, the reality is you have people that are saying, we don't care about your border. We don't care about the rules. We're coming to your country and you're going to let us in and we'll do whatever we want. And the president is taking this very seriously. And I think all Americans can rest easy at night knowing that this is a president who is addressing the situation, who understands how critical it is to make sure that something happens down there. And listen, the Democrats could have done something on immigration a long time ago if they wanted to. We probably would not be in this situation we are now. We have a great president who is leading this country in the right direction, and now with the real majority we have in the Senate, hopefully we can see some movement in that
there's
space.
no doubt the president is taking this seriously. Congress has not.
Yes.
Is this something that feasibly between now and 2020 can actually be executed on in Washington, or will it just be litigated on the campaign trail?
It'll be interesting to see. I mean, you have the Democrats now with control of the House. You have the Republicans, with the control of the Senate. And I know that the president has been ready to make a deal for a long time. Even when we had control of the House, you still didn't have it happen then. So it'll be interesting to see. I think the country needs it. I think people want to see this happen. So call your congressperson, call your senator, let them know that this is something you want to see happen.
What can we expect today in Mississippi? Your father-in-law is going there.
Yeah.
The president's going there for this rally in Mississippi because the race was too close to call. It's between Cindy Hyde-Smith and Mr. Epsy. What can we expect?
So 2 rallies in Tupelo and Biloxi. And, the president would be there all day if we let him stay there because he loves going out and he loves being on the campaign trail and being with the people. But, he's going to talk about the importance of making sure that Cindy Hyde-Smith retains this Senate seat. It's so critical. If you're happy, with what he's seen, what you've seen under President Trump so far, you want to see it continue. We've got to make sure that we have good people like Cindy. She's voted alongside the president since she started in this Senate seat, and we want to keep her in there.
Are you confident? How confident are you about the outcome tomorrow night?
I mean, listen, Mississippi is typically a red state, so I think we feel very good. The polls have reflected that she's going to win, but that does not mean anyone should stay home. You thought you were done on November 6th. You're not done. If you live in Mississippi, get out tomorrow and vote for Cindy.
Well, the First Family certainly has been busy campaigning for Republicans all across the country. There's a new series that starts tomorrow on Fox Nation. It is called First Family, and here's a preview.
After the election in 2016, going into 2017, my father-in-law wanted to continue the campaign. It's a little bit of a unique thing to do, but he felt very strongly that the movement that had started behind him, he wanted to see continue and make sure that people stayed involved. So he asked me to make sure the campaign was headed in the right direction, and here we are post midterms and having all of that done and looking towards 2020. So it's very exciting.
The job that she's done for this family is incredible, which is why I married you.
That's sweet.
Well, look at that.
Wow.
What's your reaction?
Well, it's going to be a really cool series. They did a lot with Eric, so you get to see his day-to-day, and he's not involved in politics at all, so you see his day-to-day, working for the Trump organization. But it was really fun.
What is the typical day for you guys?
Well, it
Is
starts.
there one?
There's no typical. It starts very early. I got up this morning. I'm sure well after you guys, but around 4 o'clock. But Eric works really hard for the Trump organization. I'm working for the campaign every day. You heard our son Luke in the background there. So we try and fit it all in the day with the dogs and everybody. But I'm really excited to see it myself. So that was a nice preview.
Mm-hmm. What's it like going across the country, meeting total strangers who know so much about your family?
You know what? It is so incredible. I can't tell you how much it means to us when people come up to us on an airplane or in a restaurant and talk about how much they appreciate this president, how grateful they are that our family has put ourselves out there in the way that we have. And listen, we would do it 1,000,000 times over because this country is finally headed in the right direction. And we're so proud of the job that my father-in-law is doing. And I'm just so thankful every single day that I get the opportunity to be so close to this and to see it with a front row seat. So the people out there mean everything to us. It's so wonderful.
And if folks want to get to know you a little bit more, they can
Yeah.
watch First Family on Fox Nation.
That's right.
Subscribe today and you can become a founding member.
How are your parents doing? I know their house is right on the beach in Wilmington.
They're great.
Was it hit by the hurricane?
No, they're good. They actually had the flotilla go by their house, which is the boat decorations on Saturday. So everybody's good.
Okay, good.
All right, Laura, thank you.
have you
very
here,
much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
All right, 21 minutes now before the top of the hour, and Jillian joins us with some headlines.
That's right. Good morning. And we start with the Fox News alert. The United Nations calls an emergency meeting today as Russia seizes Ukrainian ships. Russia opening fire on 3 vessels near Crimea, claiming they crossed into its waters illegally. Ukraine's president demanding Russia release its sailors and ships. The incident is prompting protests outside the Russian embassy in Ukraine. Another Democrat who originally opposed Nancy Pelosi as House Speaker now showing signs of support. Massachusetts Congressman Stephen Lynch tells a local TV station he will vote for Pelosi if it means not supporting a Republican. House Democrats are set to nominate Pelosi this week. At least 14 Democrats have pledged against her. New Jersey could soon become the 11th state to legalize recreational marijuana. State lawmakers in the Budget Committee expected to vote today on a legalization plan. The bill would allow anyone over 21 to have an ounce of marijuana and would also tax it at 12%. 10 states and Washington, D.C. have already legalized recreational marijuana. Here's a question. Have you ever had your GPS route you the wrong way?
Maybe it's a shortcut, Dwight. It said go to the right.
It can't mean that. There's a lake there. I think it knows where it is going. This is the machine knows. This is the lake. Stop yelling at me. No, it's not the lake. There's no road here.
Okay, so that kind of similar situation really happened. A woman is blaming her GPS after driving on train tracks. Pennsylvania police say the woman was 100% sober and had no medical conditions affecting her decision-making. She was cited for careless driving, but was not hurt.